Hello, it's episode 304, 7 more curious things. Let's start with half-life running on a Nokia N95. This is a Symbian phone from 2007. Some of you probably weren't born then. I do actually have my Nokia N95 from 2007, and this is half-life running on it. This is Dante Leoncini, who has got a bit of a history getting weird stuff to work on Nokia N95s. So this is running at 30 frames per second in 204 by 320 resolution. It's got full sound and all that sort of good stuff. If you do so happen to have an N95 that still works, mine doesn't, it is available for download. It takes a little bit of uploading. It's a little bit tricky, but if you're so inclined, you can do it. It's on GitHub. So well done, Dante. That is amazing. If you didn't know, this is quite an interesting story. If you've been playing Pokémon Go and you've been recording things and checking things out, you've actually been recording and capturing the real world for Niantic. Now, Niantic have a separate company called Niantic Spatial, and they have done a deal with a company called Vantor. This is all very complicated, but what it basically means is Vantor make navigational systems for drones, and especially in war zones. So yeah, so there you go. This is using the visual part of the world. So instead of having GPS to guide your drone to its target, if you are being GPS hacked or blocked at least, then you can use visual navigation, which is what this is using. So VPS, which is Visual Positioning Systems. So yeah, you've probably been training one of those if you've been using Pokémon Go. Who'd have thunk? But that's very interesting. Anthropic, this is ongoing as of today. So if you didn't know, Anthropic, the makers of Claude et al., have a model called Mythos, and they said it was so powerful, mainly because it would do things like hack and find security issues with software. So they said if we unleashed this, then obviously the world would fall apart. So they've given it to big companies to say, you know, get your stuff together, find all your bugs, and then when we do release it, you won't be hackable. So what they then did last Thursday, I think it was, so a couple of days ago, they launched Fable 5, which is Mythos 5, but with a few kind of security things taped around it. Now, obviously, the American government then said they were aware of a jailbreak, so you can get it to do the things it wasn't supposed to do, and they've now ordered it to be withdrawn. So that's exactly what's happened. So now if you do go to the Claude app and you choose the Fable 5 model, it is no longer available. Now, is this just political beef? Because obviously the US government and Anthropic have not seen eye to eye, or is it genuinely looking after humanity? So I tend to think it's probably a little bit of both. But there you go. The fight back is real. It's starting, and entire models can be taken offline straight away, just like that. So that's interesting. This is very interesting. You might have seen this little bike before doing interesting flips and things like that. It's now the first ever robot bike to do a standing front flip. So well done to Jong-Hwan Kim at RAA, which is in Massachusetts, in America, for doing this. Now, it used a new system called iterative motion imitation, where basically what you do is you train it on a computer. You train it by doing something which is impossible. You say, like, here's the stuff that is just impossible. You can't do it. And iteratively, it figures out how to do it. But you got to start somewhere. So that's very good. So well done. If you're a big fan of Danny McCaskill, you've got some competition. You know you have. This is a really interesting law. We're seeing more of this coming out. So this is New York have passed a law on synthetic performers. So if you are a digitally created media that appears to be a real person, is a synthetic performer. Now, if you are used for advertising in New York, you have to have a disclaimer on you. Now, this works for billboards, this works for TV, all sorts of things. If you do not put your disclaimer on there, and that disclaimer needs to be readable by a reasonable person to understand it is synthetic, then you will have a penalty of $1,000. Every subsequent violation is $5,000. So if you want to go and read that legislation, it's actually fairly well phrased, easy to read, but there you go. The link is in the description below. It's very interesting. This is Aerial F1, although when they actually, you'll see at the end of this video, they call it Sky F1, which is like, by the way, that's taken. However, this is in Shenzhen in China, where lots of cool stuff happens all the time, lots of those robot marathons, etc. So this is the world's first sort of F1 in the sky using drones to also make the track. So as you're seeing here, that is awesome. 4,500 drones in the sky. There you go, Sky F1. 4,500 drones. So they got FPV, obviously looking at goggles, racers from around China to come together and do this spectacle. There you go. It's the first year it's ever happened, and there will probably be more. That's very interesting. Interesting what you can probably also do to upgrade this. If you had a brainstorm, you can come up with loads of stuff like that. And finally, we have a new way of making coffee. I did some research completely separately to this, found out that coffee, if you want to drink coffee, you are now actually part of an industry that's using 0.3% of the world's energy, which is slightly more than all the data centers use. So that's kind of interesting. However, researchers in Australia, in UNSW Sydney, have figured out a way to make espresso strength coffee at room temperature. Normally you would need hot water and squeeze it through the coffee grains, obviously. And now what they use is they use ultrasound. So what that creates is what's called acoustic cavitation. It causes bubbles to happen in the water, and that jiggles the coffee out of the coffee granules at room temperature. There you go. So that saves 75% of the energy that normally goes into making a coffee. Now, you might think, well, this is a bit pointless. There's not a huge amount of energy. But if you are an industrial coffee drink manufacturer, and you need to get the coffee flavour out of the grounds at scale, this is big, especially if the entire industry uses 0.3% of the world's electricity. There you go, very interesting. Hopefully it was interesting, hopefully it was useful. If it was, give it a like, maybe comment, and I'll see you again next week.